Hello, everybody, and welcome here to Ramble. Let's see what Ramble here on YouTube. Here on YouTube.com/please here can be my review for Wrestlemania 35. A pretty dang good show, good episode in regard to WWE. So I think the show in all regards was pretty dang good. I didn't think there's too many negatives in it. Um, you had Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder win the Raw Tag Team titles on the pre-show. Tony Nese winning the Cruiserweight title. That kicked off the whole entire shebang of 7.5 hours total. Of WWE content in regards to Sunday night and WrestleMania. The main show started off hot with Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins becoming the new Universal Champion, so that was cool. AJ Styles defeating Randy Orton. Match could have been a little better, but I did enjoy it for what it was, of course, and just enjoyed it for what it could have been. I did go into this pay-per-view thinking that match was going to be the match of the night, the matches from the show, whether I'm going in correct order or not. So many matches we're getting in regards to the order of the matches. Shane McMahon defeating The Miz. That was supposed to happen, made sense there. Kofi Kingston winning the WWE Championship. Finn Balor winning the Intercontinental Championship. Bobby Lashley. Baron Corbin beating Kurt Angle to retire him. The Iconics winning the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. The main event, you have Becky Lynch win the Raw title and the Women's SmackDown title as well. Samoa Joe retaining his U.S. title in pretty short order against Rey Mysterio. Would that be Triple H defeating Batista, so his career is not over, as we thought that was going to be the case, right? Yeah, right. But Triple H getting the win there in that matchup, which is pretty awesome match, for sure. Pretty much did enjoy that for what that was. I know people were complaining in regards to the finish of the main event, but in the end, I think it was supposed to be Becky winning. It just was Becky winning in that fashion than in whatever the fashion was originally booked to be planned. I don't know, though. Dang good show, I do say. But all in all, hopefully things, moving forward. I mean, we also had Thug and Out with John Cena. Like, that was the best part of the whole night. I know the show started off with But oh no, good WrestleMania show. Not too many downs. I mean, you had Carmella, my girl, even though I didn't predict her to win, but happy to see her win. Won the second annual Women's Battle Royal. Hopefully, will be renamed the Miss Elizabeth Battle Royal. I know somebody on Twitter did bring up maybe calling it the China Battle Royal. But either way, that wasn't too bad. Though the men's Iron the Giant Memorial Battle Royal with Braun Strowman and celebrities. I don't know what WWE's doing with Braun Strowman in regards to WrestleMania, right? Last year, she won the tag team titles. In a nice moment with the child, the youngest champion in WWE, technically, I guess. But still, it's just. But all in all, pretty good. I certainly did enjoy it. That's for sure. I did enjoy the pay-per-view event that was WrestleMania. I know people that were there live. I know the guys over at Another Wrestling Podcast. You can find them individually on Twitter at Steve Credo, at Angry Shooter, at Minority and Show Mike, or Minority Mike, and their podcast in general, AW Pod, Another Wrestling Podcast, Another Wrestling Podcast.com. But all in all, it was pretty cool to see Kofi Kingston win the WWE Championship, though we did assume that to be what was going to be the case, looking here at the card. But for it actually to happen in WWE to pull that proverbial trigger, as we call it, and have Kofi Kingston win the championship was still surprising to many. Whether that you were there live in person, like I know Cooter and everybody else there from another wrestling podcast was, but myself watching at home, I still, felt that moment and enjoyed that moment as it is. And I do hear sound, so as I go back here to my Google Hangouts, I see Cooter's here. The angry one, how you doing, and how was WrestleMania?
Oh my God, you couldn't have like bought a better experience than that. I mean that was a good time, bro. That was a really good time.
Any good stories or stories suitable for air to share?
Not really. It was just really a different experience than most. Credo and I had press passes, so we pretty much went to WrestleMania for free. We were down on the floor doing work for the company he works for. You know, um, we were down on the floor level for most of the pre-show. And then we went up to the press box and pretty much just watched the rest of the show from there. So it was a good time. I mean, it's very different than being in the crowd because I was in the crowd for 29. But you're literally inside when you're in the press box. So they had monitors. You could see the ring and everything. And you're pretty high up, but they had the monitors playing, and you could hear the commentary, which was cool. Because I remember sitting at 29, and it was probably the first time I was in a crowd for that long with no commentary, and I was just like, ugh, like there's just nothing to pass the time.
Mm-hmm.
But while you're in the press box, on top of that, the one drawback is you don't get that crowd feeling and reaction. You're like not in there, and you really can't hear them. Unless something spectacular. I mean, the only time I really heard the crowd was Becky winning and more notably when Kofi won. But, I mean, just really, really different than what most people got to experience who was there. And, wow. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool with the press pass and going to the box. I felt the same way in regards to when I won a contest to go to a Packers game in the press box one year, and how that was different from the many times as a kid going to games, and even as an adult, Packer games, in the stands of the fans, and how it has its plus and negatives of being in a box, the luxury of it and TV monitors and stuff like that, and being high up and feeling special in a sense for me, I guess.
Yeah.
But missing the camaraderie, and I would just say interaction with fellow fans, like I was with the Packer fans, missing that a little bit, being in the box with just me and my friends and others, still is nice, and you still have with those people, right? But not with strangers, where sometimes it is nice to have interaction with strangers. Not all interactions with strangers are great at events like that, wrestling or football, but still it's that kind of togetherness that even if you are a stranger, you're still enjoying and having that commonality of being a fan of that team or a fan of pro wrestling, in that retrospect in WrestleMania. So that's pretty cool. I'm glad
Yeah.
you
Oh,
were able
yeah.
to do it.
You would have laughed your ass off because at one point, because we were in communication with Mike the whole time, and he was, as the joke was, hashtag behind the stage in the upper deck, where he couldn't see any of the entrances, and he was telling us, and you can hear him talking about it on this week's podcast because we've already released me and Credo recorded our ride down and our post reaction to everything that had happened.
Mm-hmm.
But while Mike was there, he's like, there were so many people. Once the sun went down, that wind just turned 60-degree weather into like 30 degrees. Kids were leaving, crying, complaining. And here's me and Credo sending him videos, screwing with him, like, oh man, it's hot in here. Credo's fanning himself. And he's like, you want to get some of the complimentary coffee over there? Yeah, no, thanks. I'll just sit here and sip on my my Aquafina water bottle, whatever the hell it was. We're just razzing him the whole time. Oh yeah, it did. It was. You could tell, like, if he could have found us at the end of that, he would have killed us.
Oh, see, here's another assumption. I assumed you all were together.
No. He had his own tickets.
Oh.
He went with his brother. It was his brother's first WrestleMania.
Oh,
it
cool.
was Cologne's second. So yeah, I mean, different experience than what we had, and lucky for them, they brought a blanket apparently. So
That's why, yeah, like I was saying with my own little story here in regard to the Packers, like that's why now, we're trying to. I'm on that list for season tickets, and I switched it up from regular seats to club seats. I really enjoyed that experience,
right.
once in a lifetime. But
You go to a lot of Packer games over there?
well, not in the past couple of years. Like once, it's usually been once a year. Like this year, hopefully, I'll be able to go. I might be going with my dad for their opening home game.
Oh yeah,
But
that's the best time because you don't want to be sitting in them seats when you're freezing your ass off, especially up where you were at, man. That's a tough stadium to watch games in, man. I know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if you don't bring something to sit on, you'll become the seat if you know
Yes,
what I
I've heard
mean
that.
in winter. If you're
Yeah,
not well prepared for watching a Packer game or anything in that stadium in the wintertime. But hey, as Wisconsinites, we should always have a plan because we're used to this stuff. So, but no, like when I experienced that one time again, winning it through a contest, so I didn't, it was free technically in regards to that actual paid money,
right.
but experiencing that and free food and this and that, buffet, literally gorging myself, and stuff and whatever. Then again, I've never been a big drinker, but they did have, for the up until obviously to the start of the fourth quarter, liquor that would have been for free as well. But all in all, it was a good time. And but yeah, usually once a year I go to Packer games. I know the most memorable one I went to recently, I should say, is I went to the Thanksgiving game
Okay.
against the Bears when Brett Favre went in the Ring of Honor. So that was cool, and
Oh, very cool.
I brought my sister with me for that one. So, but yeah, I've gone to a many game. Even once when I was a kid, we went to as a family a Packer preseason game at Camp Randall Stadium, home of the Badgers. So,
Oh wow. Okay.
so yeah, way back when, back in the day. But anyways, yeah, the luxury box experience compared to the stadium experience, good and bad.
Right. Right.
Because even when I was in the box that time, because I brought my friend and whatever, there were times where I ran out and went to the stadium for specific moments like national anthems, or opening video packages or stuff like that, or halftime stuff or whatever, like just to experience a little bit and then went back up. It was just, there's still stuff to get from experience it with the masses is as much as you do in a box with your family or closest friends or whoever's with you at that time. But anyways, in regards to WrestleMania, what's your good, bad, ugly?
All right. So I finally realized why the show has to be so long and why we are petty as fans. I think being able to have pretty much like a combo experience of being in the stadium, but also being inside and being able, like, it made me look at it for what it really is now. I mean, that show was 7.5 hours with the pre-show. Okay. And we're too critical as fans, as great as this show is, but I realized that on that card, there is literally something for everybody on that card. And I think that's really important to note because when we sit here and, oh, I don't like this build and I don't like that build, like the Batista and Triple H build, I was very critical of it. But I see how that's important for fans of that era to be able to see something like that, because I know a lot of people who tuned out of wrestling after a certain point in time. Now that draws them back in, even if it's just for that one show. The Kofi Kingston, I personally was not a fan of the build of that part. Everybody knows it. I crapped on it a little bit, but now I get it. I understand why that is. Dude, that's a really important moment in the history of this company.
Mhm.
And to be there, I think I appreciate it more now. And here's the thing. I bought one t-shirt while I was at Mania. And the Kofi buildup was the one that I crapped on the most. I walked out of there with a Kofi Kingston t-shirt. But very important to note, man. I mean, for women, for African Americans, for everybody, WWE did a fantastic job just showcasing something for everyone, especially the locals. Because on the pre-show, I mean, the big pops were for the Cruiserweight title being won by a hometown boy, Tony Nese. Ryder and Hawkins getting, a big win, even if it's on the pre-show, in front of their hometown like that. Huge. Just everything. From there's something for everybody. The indie fans got to see somebody like Ricochet, or the TNA fans. You got AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. They're literally something for every type of fan. So when we say they're catering just to the casual fan, in this case, you can really say that they tried to cater to everybody. They something for everybody. I really thought it was fantastic.
Right, and even in a sense with the international flavor, with the Iconics winning the women's tag team title.
There you go. Absolutely right.
But, yeah, I was going to say, all in all, pretty good. My only bad or anything negative in regards to is how WWE's treating Braun Strowman in regards to WrestleMania. As I was speaking earlier, last year, him winning the Raw tag team titles with a child, and now this year being part of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and with these celebrities, whoever they are, from SNL, I guess, and messing around with them. So, that's my only, I guess, negative or critique that I have from viewing it from home.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question when it comes to Braun Strowman. I've said this, and it's funny because him winning that Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, I've always said he falls in that Andre the Giant category where he is that special attraction. Andre was somebody who was so big, you wouldn't put the belt on him, because how would it be believable that you could get it off of him without some type of major, serious screw job? And even then, it would be unbelievable at best. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think Braun is big enough, and with some of the feats they've had him portray on television, he kind of falls in that category now, where it's, if you put a belt or put him in a major storyline, how is it believable that somebody can beat him the way they book him? Yeah. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I think him being in these little comedy routines are a way of putting him on the card, letting him have his WrestleMania moment. And on top of it all, I mean, come on, man. How can you possibly make him look weak?
Yeah, it was just, like I said, it was just weird in regards to, the build up to it, in regards to him and those celebrities, those people from SNL, those guys, and then having what you had for the finish to that Battle Royal, with those guys trying to talk him out of violence and this and that, and Braun eliminating them and stuff like that. It's just, it was a little hokey for me. But all in all, the whole show of WrestleMania I thoroughly enjoyed, not just because of the outcomes, which one of them being Baron Corbin defeating Kurt Angle to retire him, and Kofi Kingston with the WWE Championship, amongst others. But all in all, I probably would give it a grade, not a 9 out of 10 grade overall. And, match of the night, that Shane McMahon mismatch was pretty dang good. I certainly enjoyed it. Not just because I picked Shane to win, but because I think it made the most sense for Shane to win, and the way that he did win made even more sense.
What's funny? Where they did that spot with the suplex at the end, that's literally where we were standing during the pre-show, right underneath that head camera that was there, the one that's facing the ring.
Yeah.
We were standing right on the floor underneath that camera. So when they dropped that suplex, I'm like, oh, man. I mean, they could have felt, that was just right there. So, I mean, that view is what I had for the pre-show the whole time.
But yeah, like I said, all in all, a good WrestleMania. I mean, now we're, the smoke is cleared in regards to the WrestleMania season. Now we're on to the new season, quote unquote. Next week is the Superstar Shakeup. We already had superstars on Raw and SmackDown this week, kind of teasing things like McIntyre on SmackDown. The one that I remember specifically, could he be there? Who knows? Anything goes. But one thing that I did bring up on Twitter is that I can see the New Day being split up regards to the shakeup, like Big E going to Raw or Big E and Xavier together, going to Monday Night Raw, Kofi staying on SmackDown, being on his own because he's the WWE champion, and see how long they run with that, with him being the WWE champion. But I see something along those lines happening next week with the New Day kind of amicably splitting apart and doing their own thing, especially Big E. I think that more than deserves a chance.
I could see that Kofi carrying that belt storyline wise till next Mania. I would love to see Kofi and Big E for the belt. That would be a first. I think it would be a very important first. Two African Americans in the main event going for the biggest title in the company in the main event. I mean, that's another thing. I mean, this year, this WrestleMania, the WrestleMania firsts. I mean, come on, man. How do you top that? That's probably one way you can try.
Yeah, I mean, where are they going to go in regards to next year in Tampa Bay? The big things, big matches, other history-making things. I mean, the women kind of finished their evolution in regards to having the first ever women's main event for a WrestleMania. So that's pretty much capped off there in regards to history-making for the women's division. Because that was, as I always said, was the last thing on that checklist. Main eventing WrestleMania, whether a title match or not. Main eventing WrestleMania for the women was the brutal final thing on that women's evolution.
I still think they got one more.
And what would you say that be?
I would say we've had them do first Royal Rumble, first Hell in a Cell, all the firsts. But what if they had their own brand and had their own show? I think that they have a roster now deep enough they can get away with having their own brand. I think that brand could tour on its own. I think people would pay to see house shows featuring just women. I think within the next year or two, I think that's a very good possibility. I think it's interesting that they combine the Raw and SmackDown women's titles for just and we've argued that there's just too many titles on our show, and for them to combine them, you have a roster big enough where you could maybe have your own brand, have a set of tag titles, and have a WWE champ or a women's champ.
Yeah, but I do see that as a kind of an opportunity chance of having their own women's division and them, having their own show. They have a tag team title now. They have their main title. Maybe create a mid-card title for the women's division or for the women's show, and then be able to go from there, have storylines. Because I know one thing that people brought up, even with this revolution, that, usually on Raws and SmackDowns, the only storyline in the women's division that WWE cares about or even showcases at all on the show with 3 hours of Raw. So SmackDown is the women's title. We need other feuds. We need other things, for the women's division so that all of them matter because all of them have a part to play on the show. And I think they all are valuable. Whether from Alicia Fox all the way up to Becky Lynch, whoever, I think, they all have fans that they do have that I think that, if we have their own show, their own brand or whatever, that then they all can be showcased in some way, some light, moving forward. I enjoyed that Alexa Bliss, she wasn't wrestling at WrestleMania, of course, but she was the host of WrestleMania. They're in the opening with Hogan.
Who fucked up the name again?
Yeah, because he first made the joke about the last time.
The Silverdome. He did the Silverdome joke and then called it MetLife Center. And everybody in the press box just groaned like, "Oh, you idiot. Oh, here you go again."
I was like, did he really mean that? Or was that planned to mess up? Like, it's one of those, you really couldn't have been, that much. It's just, for me, it's like, I would think he would have prepared enough to remember the name of the stadium he's going to because he didn't want to mess up again. Or the plan was for him to mess up again. I don't know. It was like one of those two trains of thought. Like, what exactly is what's going on there? Because I couldn't believe that he did that again.
Oh, just too funny. Just too funny. When he said MetLife Center, I'm like, wait, what? And Creedo's just giggling right next to me. And I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. He did. Oh God. And the moan, the groans, it was, to me, it was hilarious. And I mean, there were people up there who were just like shaking their heads. Almost met some cool people up there, but
cool. What were yours or Creedo's or anybody else there in the boxes thoughts on Doctor of Thugonomics? John Cena coming back for one night only, interacting with Elias, the Babe Ruth video before, and then Thugonomics being played.
It was weird because people were pretty quiet up there for the most part. I mean, a lot of people were typing, writing articles up, and you know, you almost didn't want to be too loud because you were afraid of. Because I didn't want to be like that Mark who's like yelling and screaming in the middle of the box. You know what I mean? Like, oh, like if I was at my house, there were a bunch of times where I would have just like jumped up out of my chair and just started cussing. Like, are you fucking kidding me? But like, again, I was definitely on my best behavior. But there were just certain times where, and that was one of them, where the people in the press box were pretty vocal. Like, it was pretty cool. It went over really well with them. Like when he came out to that music, people were dying laughing like, yes. So I was pretty shocked because for the most part, like I said, everybody was pretty quiet and really didn't make too much of a fuss about certain things. Unless something big really happened, people were pretty quiet in there.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised by it, and then I enjoyed his stuff he said and the jokes there. Even rewatching it a couple of times, the segment there, that was pretty funny, and other people's reactions, on YouTube that people do. But all in all, might have been best segment of the night. Regards to segments and best match of the night, like I said earlier, Shane McMahon and The Miz.
How can you say that was the best match of the night? Really? You feel that way?
No, for me, I think I was
again, yeah, something for everybody. If that's how you feel, cool. I'm just surprised that would be anybody's. But no, if that's what you like, that's what you like.
Which one would be for you? Their experience of their live. Which one was your match of the night?
God, that's a tough one. Wow. When I look at it, I don't look at it as now that I think about it, I can't believe I'm saying Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan. Like, I thought that was a really good match. That was probably top 5 of the weekend, obviously, because I think there were some really great matches on the NXT card.
Oh, for sure.
Did you watch the NXT card?
Yeah, I did. I was able to see it. I wasn't able to see it live for work reasons, but
right. I mean, the Walter and Pete Dunne match to me was the match of the weekend, and Gargano and Page is up there, if not second, third behind Kofi and Daniel Bryan. And I'm also hearing, I was talking to Mike, one of the things we were looking forward to was there's this card that they had at Access. It was like old NXT guys versus like current NXT guys.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a guy in there by the name of Donovan. On the Indies, he was Donovan Dijak, but I forget what they're calling him in NXT. It's like, Dochevich or something like that, some weird ass name. But it was him versus Luke Harper, and I'm like, oh wow! Like, if you've seen a Donovan Dijak match, he's somebody to watch. And Luke Harper working like an NXT like strong style, like most people don't realize Luke Harper, when he was on the Indies, was fun to watch. Not this watered down bludgeon brother bullshit. But I'm hearing Luke Harper wanted this could have been good enough to be on the WrestleMania card. And he said that this was going to be his WrestleMania match. And I'm like, all right, I wanted to see it beforehand. Now that's being said after the fact, I really want to see this in the worst way. So I'm putting that match in my top 5, and I haven't even seen it yet.
So something that people were looking forward to see was on the Raw after WrestleMania. We had WWE Champion Kofi Kingston was going to go one-on-one with the Universal Champion Seth Rollins to unify those titles. It was good for Becky, good for them, as Kofi said. But unfortunately, that did not pan out. So Seth did say, we'll get back to it. Maybe SummerSlam, maybe next year's WrestleMania. Maybe that's, this year they're maybe not unifying, but bringing together the women's Raw and SmackDown titles. Maybe next WrestleMania in Tampa Bay, Florida, they have the men's titles together with the WWE and Universal Championships. Whether it's Kofi and Seth still at that time, who knows? But whoever's the champions, that could be something they do for, in a sense, second straight year of winner takes all. But anyways, what were your thoughts on the Raw or the show in itself? Raw after WrestleMania.
What's funny? When you talk about how they unified the women's title, I remember the first brand split, and the first brand split there was only one champion because you had like that undisputed champion until Brock Lesnar went exclusive to SmackDown and they brought back the World Heavyweight title. I liked the idea of there being one champion who would travel back and forth to each brand, almost like the old days where the territory system. I wish they would do that again. Keep an IC title, keep a fucking US title on the show but have one champion for your whole company. And I think there should be one women's champion, the way that there's one set of tag titles that could go back and forth. Like it would give them the chance to build up their tag teams better and put them in feuds that actually mean something, as opposed to just chasing for belts. It's just, at this point, some of these belts don't mean anything. And I think if you do this, I was kind of getting excited because the thought of them just having that one champion, I'm like, oh, wow, they really want to do like a territory system. And I think that's great. When they separated it and made a world heavyweight title, and now we have two titles again, I'm just like, ugh, no. So, I mean, I think that's a direction I would like to see them go, but what do I know? I'm just a mark,
And maybe that could be the way they're going in regards to the Fox deal and Fox wanting more stars on that show, especially Brock, Brock and Sasha Banks and some others that they were bringing up, at least from what I was hearing in rumors and news. But maybe that's what they're slowly getting to. Maybe the end of the brand splits coming at SummerSlam or next year's WrestleMania, whenever that to be. And we have one champion, one men's champion, we have one women's champion, we have one tag team, blah, blah, blah. And then you have them on both shows, being on both shows, because the brand split then would be ceased to exist as just one big WWE. I think if they do put the tag team titles together and unify them, as I was speaking about the women in the women's division, is the other tag teams showcased, whether at all or favorably on the shows, with feuds or with storylines, than to randomly have them in these battle royals or things for the title or this or that or tournaments. And I might enjoy those, but I think it'd be more beneficial to have the one championship and then have everybody chasing for that. And in the long run of all the tag teams chasing one men's tag team title, then you have other feuds on that long road, of course. Other feuds, other tag teams, other things going on that we can try to focus on and build on, whatever they want accordingly, and whoever they want accordingly, in those feuds. And then from there, then tag teams getting opportunities. And that would just make the most sense there in regards to that. But did you enjoy the Raw after, or any thoughts of that Raw after Mania show? Because I thought it was all right. I thought it could have been better, but it did have some big moments to it.
What I thought was funny was like we made mention certain guys didn't show up on Raw. You didn't have Braun. God, who else wasn't there from Raw? But oddly enough, you ended up seeing them the next night on SmackDown. Like, oh God, McIntyre.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit. So it was a good way to get everybody a moment without really. It was almost like they were testing the waters, which was pretty cool. God, I had a point to this. You know who wasn't on either show, which I thought was really interesting? Roman Reigns was not on either show. I could be wrong. I don't remember seeing him.
Yeah, he wasn't on Raw on the actual show. He was there for the Dean Ambrose send off after the show, but
Right.
not on actual TV for either.
Why do you think that is? Because I have my fucking opinion.
For me, I think honestly the fact that they weren't going to have Drew McIntyre on Raw, they were planning, to have him on SmackDown Live, and I think they're continuing to keep moving forward for Roman Reigns, as Seth Rollins is could be the fighting champion that he is. That maybe that they didn't think of any other reason, though they could have thrown one together, of having Roman Reigns on the show. And then for SmackDown, maybe they just didn't want to have him on SmackDown. He's a bigger name. He should be on Raw. So, okay, you never know with the brand, with the Superstar shakeup. But I think it was just simply they planned to have McIntyre on SmackDown and what they had plans for McIntyre. And Reigns, if they are going to continue this feud with McIntyre and Reigns, you need both. So Reigns not even to be on the show on Raw, at least on TV, and then just was for the end of the thing for Dean Ambrose. But
you ready for my theory?
Thoughts on why I think he wasn't on the shows?
Okay, you've gotten a very, very positive reaction from the fans to Roman Reigns. Okay, if you pay attention, they put Roman towards the end of the card when the fans were really, really tired, but not like was he second to last?
I don't think so.
Or was Kofi and Bryan before Becky and I don't remember. But whatever, it wasn't in a point where it was high enough to where they would be pissed off that he was that high on the card because it was just like a time killer match. But typically, and I've noticed this, whenever something big happens the night after Raw, like crowd reaction wise, certain cities tend to copy it. Like the Fandango thing, like how that got big that one year after WrestleMania 29. The fans are trying to do that for weeks afterwards. So if they're getting this positive reaction for Reigns, the night after WrestleMania in New York is Bizarro Land. Like they're chanting and cheering for all the heels and booing all the fucking faces. I almost had a feeling like they did not want to take the chance of putting Roman Reigns out there and having the fans boo the shit out of him, which I think they would have done in the Barclays Center. I really feel that way. And I feel like, what's the big deal if we keep him off the air for the rest of the week? Because if they see him getting booed either Monday or Tuesday, the fans are going to copy that shit and boo him out of the building again like he's getting the fucking cram down their throats when that really isn't the intention. They just wanted to boo. They would just boo him to be dicks. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think they were just trying to oh, yeah. So Cologne just texted me, right? He said a fan had a sign on Raw that said, "Is it okay to boo Roman now? Boo Roman now." Jesus, get the marbles out of my mouth. Oh God. But that's funny, yeah. But that's how I feel. I think that
right. Yeah. Never know. It could have been the case, or saving him, having him off TV, for that reason. But then also maybe that they're going to have him go to SmackDown next week. Like he's going to be part of the shakeup. He's going to go to SmackDown. Splitting up him and Seth. Though yes, the Shield's no more, anyways. But still, Roman going to SmackDown. Seth staying on Raw as the Universal Champion. Kind of like I was talking about with the New Day, kind of splitting up. Though if one happens, I don't see both happening. But either way, I think that could be the case for Roman Reigns. Another reason, at least a WWE reason, company reason why they didn't have him this week to have a big, surprise thing next Tuesday for SmackDown Live. Roman Reigns showing up out of nowhere, and that kind of moment, I guess, there. But either way, certainly going to be interesting. Because another thing that was interesting is on SmackDown, the Hardy Boys win the SmackDown Tag Team titles.
I didn't understand that at all, and that kind of annoyed me because you had the Usos on the pre-show for how many years in a row, right? They finally make the main card, and you have them, and when they were probably the hottest team of the year, and had probably the best feud with the New Day, you know, only to have them job to Harper and Rowan, the Bludgeon Brothers, and now you give them a win at Mania to drop the titles to senior citizens the night after. I'm just saying, look, I love the Hardy Boys. I get the nostalgia act. They're great. Matt is in probably the best shape that I've ever seen. But, I mean, for them to take the belts off the Usos the night after WrestleMania is a little weird. What do I know? I think maybe do you think they split the Usos up? Are either of them really good enough to have a singles career?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's well, in regards to who would do better as a singles career. I don't know how either of them would do.
Without the other,
I don't think they would fare too well. I think they're better as a tag team. I mean, they're kind of in a sense dependent on each other in regards to that way. That's why they work so well as a team. You know, they're family too, but I mean, as a tag team for them as superstars, I think it works for them. I know another podcast that was finishing up this week, the one that I do with Ajame, we were talking about with Chad Gable and Bobby Roode if they should split up and how would they do and stuff like that if they were split up in any way at any point here soon. Because it seems like them as a tag team has turned heel. That happened on Raw, but you know, I said there, you know, Bobby Roode, who's being good as a heel as he was in NXT, I think it would do better, and I think Chad Gable kind of like needs to be part of tag teams because I don't think WWE has the confidence in Chad Gable to think that he's gonna make it as a single star. Now I know there's fans out there that would say, "Oh, he would do great, and he's great in the ring and on the mic," which I'm sure, which he actually is. But I don't think or believe that WWE sees it that way because if they did, they would have given him that legitimate run as a single superstar when it seemed like he was going to get that in the past after Jason Jordan. After the end of that tag team there.
Yeah, they had him in a couple of high-profile matches. He had that one against Styles, and there was somebody else within that. And it was funny because Cologne, I've been breaking his balls for a year because he kept saying Chad Gable was his sleeper pick when he got sent to Raw, and I laughed my balls off because sleeper pick. He's the pick that put you to sleep because they've done nothing with him. But when he came out and wrestled Angle in the old American Alpha gear, was that 2 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping that was going to be a thing because I think he really is talented. I hate to agree with Cologne on that because I don't like to give Mike credit for shit. I don't. But he makes a valid argument. I think because they tend to not favor the little guys, but when they give somebody like Ricochet, who's a pretty small guy, but he's flashy, he's got a good gimmick. It's already built in for him. They haven't found that for Chad Gable yet, and I think when they do, when they find the right thing for him, it's going to be like Dolph Ziggler. Let's just hope he doesn't end up doing as many jobs as Dolph Ziggler.
Right.
Because it took Dolph a long time to make that name after the Spirit Squad, that name and that gimmick work. It went through a few different iterations, you know what I mean? But when he found it, the showstopper or the show stealer or whatever it was, that's where he turned it around. I think Chad needs something like that, man.
And the two other big things, or at least the takeaways that I take from the Raw and SmackDown after WrestleMania are what's the future for the Boston Hug connection, Sasha Banks and Bayley? Are they going their separate ways? Is everybody going their separate ways? We won that. But and then also Paige bringing up the fact that next week during this shakeup, she's bringing up a formidable tag team to be one of the first contenders to face the new champions, the Iconics. They're in the women's tag team division. So, what do you think about the Boston Hug connection? Where do you think their future is as a tag team with Bayley and Sasha Banks? And what do you think the tag team that Paige is referencing to that she's going to be managing starting next week?
I wonder if she's gonna go back with Sonya and Mandy and try to revive the Absolution thing. That's one thing, or you know what? It could be some NXT call-ups. I don't know. It's one of those we're gonna have to wait and see, because if it's not Absolution, I think it's an NXT call-up. I don't think it's anybody on the main roster, or maybe it's a comeback. Maybe they bring back, I don't know, somebody like Emma. I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Or if it was the biggest shock, they bring back AJ Lee and you have that AJ Lee Page tag team. But
I don't think Paige is wrestling ever again.
yeah, I know, unfortunately.
It is unfortunate because it was great to see her come back. And goddamn Sasha Banks fucked it all up. Was that Sasha who hurt her? I think it was.
Sasha during the house show.
God damn.
But yeah, what are your thoughts on the other question? What do you think in regards to the future of the Boston Hug connection, Sasha Banks and Bailey?
Well, I mean, it depends. Since you know what I love lately has been that there's no more automatic rematches. I hated that rematch clause bullshit. I think everybody was sick and tired of, because if you took the belt, you had to have a return match, and it just nonstop back and forth. So the fact that there's no automatic rematches, I think maybe it's time they separate them, put them on different brands, keep them far away from each other. Maybe one of them gets a nice single push, wins the belt, and maybe the other one wins next year's Women's Rumble. Because I think I don't know if they would ever do something like that, though. I mean, do you see them having Sasha and Bailey in a high-profile match against each other? Because I don't know if they could ever top what they did in Brooklyn on an NXT show. I'd love to see it try, because I think these two, I think they could do it. I don't know if WWE feels like lightning can strike twice. I don't know.
I think they could. I mean, WWE, if they want to, one of those things, when a superstar or the creative team want to try and give these superstars actual good storylines and stories, that things will work out. So I think if they wanted to, Sasha Banks and Bailey could hit out of the park. I think SummerSlam would be a place that they would, or a show that WWE would let them do that and try it, especially with SummerSlam being the Barclays Center most years. It also used to be in LA a couple of times in a year or years, but I think SummerSlam would be where that would be the case. And if WWE does split them and have one go to the other brand during the shakeup, one go to SmackDown Live, then that could just be its own running on the wall in regards to the 4 Horsewomen match, if that's going to be at WrestleMania next year, because that could be a whole long thing where they all get back together at WrestleMania or Survivor Series, I guess, and have that match. Ronda's going to be away for a while anyways, starting a family. So I think that would work, at least in her timeline. And then her coming back, and the other women in the NXT 4 Horsewomen coming up from NXT or just in NXT now, especially Baszler being Shayna Baszler. I think her time should be called up. She's actually sometime soon. But then the other two, they get their feet wet in NXT. So
I don't know if
that could be the long-term plan. And if putting up Banks and Bailey, I think that could be its own little hint to what could become.
She is so funny. Like, she is so good, I think, Shayna.
Yeah.
I think that, because, and you know what's messed up? Turn back the clocks a couple of years when she was in that first Mae Young Classic. I dumped on her. I thought she was trash. But, I mean, if anybody has benefited from WWE developmental, in my opinion, she's definitely benefited, and she's definitely put in the work. She's definitely paid attention to what some of these people have been teaching her, because just everything about her has gotten better. Her ring psychology, her promos, to how she works in the ring. I mean, and she always did have a pretty cool style. I think she just needed to learn how to really put it all together to accentuate the positives of her in-ring style. Just, oh my God. I want her on the main roster, and I would love to see her and Asuka. I would love to see Ronda and Asuka, but I think even more than that, I would enjoy a good Shayna and Asuka match. That's just, I think that would be a brutal match because I think they would literally beat the shit out of each other.
I feel like it would be a match of the year candidate for sure if they did one-on-one, whether it's for a championship or not. But that's pretty much everything to be brought up here tonight. So WrestleMania, Raw, and SmackDown after. Not too much in regards to news that we have already discussed here tonight. Nothing else that I can think of, or if anything else.
Oh, wait a minute. I got one for you. AEW on TNT and TBS, possibly? Do you care?
I don't know. Triple H put it the piss ant company. I don't know.
Oh, man, they took some shots at Billy Gunn, didn't they?
Yeah, that was kind of interesting during that Hall of Fame.
I mean, you could tell they were just breaking each other's balls.
Yeah, I know, but I still was surprised that it was even brought up.
I think Triple H can pretty much say and do as he pleases. I don't think it matters at this point.
I guess. I mean, he's not going to fire himself, but
yeah. And you know what though? It's not even guaranteed that they have a deal. They're just going to shop it to advertisers. See how it does. I don't know. Is for what? Because I listen to Bischoff's podcast a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And he constantly talks about how in the CNN Center, like WCW was that bastard stepchild. Like nobody wanted anything to do with wrestling except for Ted Turner. But maybe because it would just be on that network and the company wouldn't own it, maybe they would look at it differently.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't see how you go to a company or want to air your company on a network that was known for destroying an actually really good company. Because a lot of why WCW closed was because of that AOL Time Warner merger. So you worry about that. But again, it's a different situation. CNN and Turner owned WCW. They don't own AEW. It would just be on that network. So it might be different. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what to think in regards to AEW success or non-success. I do say, though, just with Chris Jericho going to AEW kind of was a big risk and gamble in a sense, at least from what I hear in rumors of Vince McMahon, Triple H, others, top brass telling their wrestlers he can't be on Jericho's podcast anymore because he's now with AEW company, whether that's a fact or simply a rumor, but Jericho kind of taking a leap of faith, whether he believes that to be or not, going to this marine company, going part of AEW and kind of burning a bridge a little bit with WWE. But then again, whenever AEW does fold in months or years, I'm sure he'll be welcomed back and he'll be in the Hall of Fame that next year.
Or maybe he just. What does he have, a 3-year deal? I can't see him having anything more than a 3-year deal. I don't know. I'd have to ask Mike. I don't even know if he knows. I don't see him doing a 5-year, maybe a 2 or 3 year. But, I mean, how long? But, I could say that, but how often is he actually even going to wrestle? In the last couple of years, well, because he kind of bullshitted Vince anyway, because I remember him telling a story that he would never compete against Vince. That's why Vince pretty much gave him the blessing when he went over to Japan. Because, it wouldn't be like direct competition with the. Now he's here competing against him. And it's a little weird. Like, I've always seen Jericho as that WWE guy, but he could still go. Is he going to be able to still go at that level for the next 2 to 3 years, 5 years? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know either, but it's only going to be interesting to see how AEW does and how things go I guess for them moving forward and everything. Also, I guess for news, Zack Ryder getting engaged over the weekend.
To who?
Chelsea Green. Not only does he win the tag team titles on WrestleMania Sunday, that Saturday night he proposes to his long-term girlfriend, and now they're engaged. So congratulations to Zack Ryder, getting the girl and winning the tag team championship.
It's not
In
somebody
your
on the
home.
roster. Is it somebody else?
No, it's somebody else.
Oh,
I
okay.
think she's in. I think she's over in TNA or whatever they're calling that company. Chelsea Green, I think her name is.
Who?
Chelsea Green or something.
Chelsea Green. Oh, well, I'll have to look her up. Well, good
So,
for him. Yeah, hell yeah.
but yeah, just I guess share. But beyond that, nothing else really much to talk about. So I guess we'll finish it here as we're getting later and later into the evening. But thanks to those that were watching live, I did see. A couple people just saying hi in the chat, so hello. And thanks, Recruiter, for stopping by. Next week, we'll continue business as usual with Steve's Wrestling Ramble, with other TV shows ending their seasons. No more really TV show reviews, though the NFL podcast will come back next week with my predictions for the entire first round, and also be predicting the Packers' full NFL draft picks from round 1 to 7, with our 8 picks that we do have available for us in the 2019 NFL draft. So that's next week, because the draft does start that Thursday night, which is awesome because every 4 years, kind of an disclaimer, every 4 years the NFL draft is on April 25th, which is my birthday. So I get to have the NFL draft night 1 on my birthday. I'll be busy. I'll see if I'll be able to watch it fully, but either way, that will be a fun day, fun evening, stuff like that for me personally. And then you have the NFL draft capping it off, and seeing how that all goes down. So next week, Steve's Wrestling Ramble, Talking Packers with Steve does return. Everybody welcome to follow me on Twitter at @TheRamble_WWE, or my personal handle at Army_Strong_06. Instagram and Snapchat at StevieK_06. So, Cootery, welcome to let people know where they can find you on social media, or just find you on the
Yes,
Wrestling Podcast.
You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter, both at Angry Cooter. Yeah, my WrestleMania 35 story is still up there, like as a separate little. You can check that out. It's pretty cool, seeing things from my vantage point and some of the stuff that I was able to get. So you guys can check that out, and anotherwrestlingpodcast.com for all of our links. Like, subscribe, enjoy, bitches, and have a good night. Oh, by the way, one last thing. Chelsea Green is in NXT, I'm being told, by my affiliate up in the other county.
Okay.
So, yeah,
he's
he's smashing somebody on the roster, goddammit. He's keeping it in the WWE family. Good for you, Zack Ryder. Goddamn.
Yes, congratulations. Yeah, I thought she was TNA, but now signed with NXT. But anyways, either way, hope everybody just have a great rest of your day, as it is still snowing or sleeting here in Wisconsin. Snow is back. Got 10 inches here in the past 24 hours. So.
I got 10 inches. God damn it. You're goddamn right. Oh, you're talking about snow. Oh.
I had a feeling that joke was coming. But anyway.
All right, well, I'm out of here. Have a good night.
Take care, man. But yeah, everybody, hope you have a good evening. Hope your day tomorrow is grand. The weather in your areas, I'm sure it's not snowing. It's beautiful and sunny. But above all else, as always, take care. You know.